Entrepreneurs are not born, they are usually forged through grit, pressure, and most importantly, rejection. Sometime few years back, I just got my first car, and the irony to that is it was expected to be my just arrived moment. It's a moment that people are expected to celebrate with me, and I ought to be at the top of the world. But that was when reality dawned on me. First, it started with clients. Some of them started pulling out. In their words, I was becoming too expensive for them to afford. And for that reason, some of them stopped doing business with me. But that was not really the heartbreaking thing. There's a friend from back then who I had thought we were building something together, something larger than us, a legacy. And out of excitement, it's also noteworthy that I mentioned that during or just before I bought the car, I, of course, bought a land. And when I did buy that land, I had taken this friend of mine to see that particular piece of realty, and he seemed very happy, joyous for the milestone I've achieved. Only for me to discover after buying the car that this same person had built two full homes without my knowledge. What I felt was more than betrayal. I was disappointed, I was lost. And in that midst of uncertainty, I remember clearly that I stopped going to work altogether and I was broken internally. But it was one of such mornings that my wife called upon me. She said, "Fola, I know you are not a failure, and I'm very certain the man I ended up with is not just a doer. You probably have lost yourself, and it's time to pick yourself up and learn new things, look at new ways of doing stuff, and probably you would come back on your feet." That very morning marked a tremendous shift in how I saw things, because clearly I was lost. And the crisis have engulfed me so much that clarity was not even on the table. But after hearing that voice that particular morning, it occurred back to me that I'm not on this journey for myself alone. I'm on this journey for a greater number of people that I might not even be aware of. So I signed up for some tech courses, and I started to pick myself little by little. So it occurred to me that what was really lacking was not really a loss of idea. What was extremely lacking was the fact that there was no business systems around the business I was creating. And for that reason, clients could easily ghost on me and friends could easily ghost on me. But most importantly, during this period of me trying to pick myself up, I came across a book that I would love to share with us all today. It's called Midas Touch by Robert Kiyosaki, co-authored by the current president of the United States, Donald Trump. And 5 things stood out extremely clear for me during that period. And since then, I've become pivotal to how I operate and even accelerate my business models. First was character. Despite the crisis that engulfed what I was doing, I do not actually lose myself. So when it is very, very convenient or comfortable that you forget why you have started, character is that thing that will put you on path. And it is that sense of character and responsibility that would make your heart and ears still open for advice, the logical ones. Another very important thing that I learned from that particular book is you need to build a brand. For most persons, building a brand is just beyond you having a logo or you having an office address or you having something that you do. A brand is a promise. What is that particular thing you are building right now? What is the promise you want to be fulfilled from people doing business or any transaction of life with you? Either as an entrepreneur, as an intrapreneur, as a tech service person, as a creative, you need to create a brand. What problem are you solving and why is it important to the next person? Another valuable lesson I learned in all of that is the value of relationships. And when I say relationships, I mean credible relationship. So it has taught me to always look beyond the surface. whenever I'm dealing or transacting with anybody. And that's why it's, for people who know me closely, it's always very, very hard for me to connect deeper with anyone, because that has taught me that beyond whatever anybody is bringing forth to you, there's always a sinister or an ulterior motive, and you must understand it clearly. And I got to also understand that in the process of building relationships, you must leave yourself to be utilized by people, as much as you must also be willing to exploit on the strength of another person. These are hard truths that nobody wants to acknowledge, but that's the only genuine path to greatness. And I think the fourth thing that is very important, that is also pivotal to how we operate, is what we call focus. And focus is you gaining clarity on what to do. When I was lost, as much as I could not do any other thing, I was also trying to be a salesperson. I was also trying to be an entrepreneur that I've been. And I was even looking at other business models, selling laptops, gadgets, and all of that. But it still did not give me that fulfillment, because a man who has scattered energy can definitely not make any visible progress. So I was lost. And in the process of reading that book, it showed me that there's need for clarity on what I was building, on what I was doing. It was that moment that I figured, oh, we needed a team around this. We needed to cultivate a solution around a problem. And lastly, of the things that is very important is focusing on little things that count. So oftentimes we get lost in wanting to achieve a lot at a goal, such that we easily deviate from grand plans. And it is not necessarily by doing it big, but it is by deliberately, intentionally, consistently doing it little by little, such that those results can manifest. So the summary of my message. So are you that person that you've lost yourself? Are you that person that you are currently building something but you don't sing? Are you that person whose other people's voices have channeled you to sort of stop believing in yourself? Well, this is my appeal to you. You are battling through a crisis, but despite that crisis, you must have clarity. And you picking yourself up is one of the greatest advantage and one of the greatest service you can do to yourself.